If you don't understand this properly, in fact, you may jeopardize your chances of how the person may come in contact with you, and in fact, you may spoil your chances of ever meeting that person in that circumstance. Hello, Namaskar and Adab to all my friends from your friend astrologer and guide Irfan, once more with you from your very own channel Astro Assurance. I get a lot of requests from time to time on telling about how you may come about meeting your would-be partner, your would-be spouse, your long-term committed partner, and the circumstances in which there is a higher probability that you may meet that person, whether it's a male or a female or whatever. So this information that I'm giving you is very important to know in which situation you may be able to meet your future spouse, your would-be partner, because if you don't understand this properly, in fact, you may jeopardize your chances of how the person may come in contact with you, and in fact, you may spoil your chances of ever meeting that person in that circumstance. So, understand this placement well. Please understand how I am describing the placements, because there is a in-depth information which I am going to give you. However, I am going to breeze through it because there are so many combinations possible. I am not going to go into one placement and then describe it in detail what it is going to be about, but I'll give you enough information for you to be able to fathom how you will meet the person, in what circumstances you may meet the person, and how the situation may come about. Now, for this, one important thing. The 7th Lord's placement in your D1 chart is very, very important. Which house it gets placed and how is that house Lord placed in your horoscope in the D1 chart. However, one thing you will find is that 7th Lord, whichever house it may go or sign it may go in your D1 chart, that house or that sign will see a connection again in the D9 chart or with your Lagna Lord or the sign of the Lagna of your D1 chart, which means if you are an Aries ascendant native and your 7th Lord is Venus, because Libra sign rules the 7th house, then whichever house Venus may be placed in. For example, if Venus is placed in the Capricorn sign in the 10th house in your D1 chart, so 10th house and Capricorn sign is where your 7th Lord is placed in your D1 chart. So you will find that in your D9 chart, the Venus planet, which is the ruler of your 7th house, will either establish a relationship with either the 10th house, placed with in the 10th house, or with the 10th Lord, or placed in the Capricorn sign, or will have a connection with your Lagna sign or your Lagna Lord of your D1 chart, which is Aries. So either Venus may be placed in the Aries sign or placed with Mars, or establish some connection with either the Aries sign or with Mars or with Capricorn sign or the 10th house. So this is very important. If you are able to see that in the D9 chart that the 7th Lord is able to establish these 3 or 4 connections, then there is a higher chance that that situation may come about in the manner in which I am describing. If it is not, then one has to look deeper into understanding why the manifestation is coming out in a different manner. There would be more in-depth reading which is required to understand in what circumstances you may be able to meet your future spouse. So say for example, in your D1 chart, your 7th Lord is placed in the 10th house. So here, the manner in which you will meet, the situation in which you may meet your spouse is getting connected to your work. Now, then it's important where your 10th Lord is placed. If your 10th Lord goes into the 9th house, then you may meet your future spouse on a long distance travel connected to work, or traveling for a seminar or a workshop connected to your work, and there you meet your future spouse, or you meet your future spouse at some company event at a long distance place where she has also traveled, you have also traveled, or vice versa. If the 7th Lord is in the 10th house, now the 10th Lord has gone into the 11th house, then it could be a social event organized by your office or some professional organization or some professional event organized as a social event in your work area, and then you may meet her there. Or 7th Lord is gone into the 10th house, but the 10th Lord has gone into the 12th house, which means you may meet your would-be, your spouse, he or she, at a travel seminar in a foreign land, or you go on site to work there and then you may meet your spouse, or you may even meet your spouse at a health related event. For example, there is a health camp organized by your organization and you have gone there, or there is a blood bank event or blood donation event established by your organization and you meet her there in the hospital or in the premises wherever the blood is being donated, and then you start talking and then you become friends, exchange numbers, and then things go on from there. Or if the 7th Lord has gone into the 10th house but 10th Lord has gone into the 4th house, then it could be that you meet at an event organized at the person's house or your house. In some way or the other, the home environment could be connected, house environment could be connected, where you're either going for a housewarming ceremony like in the Indian subcontinent it is done, or at a lunch or a dinner event at your place or your friend's place, or even maybe at your would-be spouse's place, would-be partner's place. Or if the 7th Lord has gone into the 10th house but the 10th Lord has gone into the 3rd house, which means that your would-be spouse could be working in your work area, in your organization, in your company, but maybe living in your neighborhood. And so because you are living in the neighborhood, you sometimes may be getting together to go to work or commute to work or in a carpool in some way, and through that you get connected to him or her. Now on the other hand, if the 7th Lord is getting into the 11th house, which means some social event, working in large corporations, meeting through friends at work, which means you have a common friend at work, she has somebody who is also common friend to her or him, and then that friend invites you and the other person to a social event, and through that you meet each other at a friend's place at a social event. Or it could be that you started off as a colleague, then became friends, and then ended up becoming closer because the 7th Lord has gone into the 10th house and the 10th Lord has gone into the 11th house of being friends. Or 7th Lord has gone into the 11th house but the 11th Lord has gone into the 9th house, which means you are traveling socially with your family or your friends, and then you meet her at that travel event, or in the process of traveling and you meet the person there, or at your travel destination, or when you're organizing the traveling thing together and somehow you meet her in that, somehow you meet him or her in that connection. Or if the 7th Lord has gone into the 11th house but the 11th house is placed in the 3rd house, which means the person is known socially to her friends or to your family or to your social network, but she lives in your neighborhood and you get connected to her in your neighborhood at some social events through your social contacts, through either a extended family or your friends or friends of friends. Or 7th Lord has gone into the 11th house but the 11th Lord is placed in the 2nd house, which means that she is known socially to your community, to your tribe, to the society in which you are born, the tribe in which you are born, the larger community that you are born. So she is connected to your tribe, born in your community, and she is known socially to those people who you know socially, and through them you meet her at a social event, at a lunch maybe, or even at a restaurant. However, if the 7th Lord gets into the 5th house, then the connection comes through some artistic event, media event, or through some classes, through educational classes, through having common interests, hobby classes, or you both meet at some art classes where both of you have gone to learn or get educated or even to perform, because the 5th house is also the house of media performances. Or you meet the future spouse at a media event such as a musical event, at a theatrical event, or the movies itself, or maybe even an art gallery. Now if the 7th Lord has gone into the 5th house but the 5th Lord has gone into the 11th house, which means you get connected to this person romantically after meeting the person at a social event. So you meet the person at a social event connected to arts or artistic media, or through hobby classes, or some dinner or lunch organized by your community, your society, your neighborhood, your friends, and then because you both are in the same sphere, in the same artistic endeavor, your community or your friends have organized that artistic event or that educational event, you meet the person there. Or 7th Lord has gone into the 5th house but the 5th Lord has gone into the 9th house, which means you are traveling for some hobby class to learn an artistic event or learn at an artistic event, maybe to get certified. in some artistic endeavor, in some artistic classes, say for example a music class, or maybe even a cookery class, maybe a dance class, and then while traveling you meet the person there, or the person that travel across cities and come to your place to get training or some certification in some artistic endeavor, or connected to money, has come to do some investments, come to a seminar connected to money, and then you meet the person there, and then the connection grows from there. Or the 7th lord is in the 5th house, but the 5th lord has gone into the 12th house, which means you travel abroad to get a certification in arts, in theatre, some artistic endeavor, or connected to money, which means you may have gone abroad to do a certification connected to accounts, finance, some finance related or media related training you have gone there for, or to visit an event connected to media, connected to arts, and there you meet the person who may be ending up as your future spouse, as a future partner. Or 7th lord has gone into the 5th house, but the 5th lord has gone into the 6th house, which means you met the person at some competitive event, maybe a sports event, at a competitive exam, or applying a job, maybe at a job center, at a job fair for example. Or 7th lord has gone into the 5th house, but the 5th lord has gone into the 8th house, which means you meet the person suddenly, where you least expect, bump into the person at a hospital or at a media event, at a theater. So you don't know the person at all, neither through social connects or friends, in no way, but you have gone for some artistic event, for a movie, for a theater event, and you suddenly bump into the person accidentally. Maybe she needs some help at the car park, or she has lost her card and you are at the refreshment center at an artistic event, and you suddenly volunteer to help her to pay for her bills. Then she gives you a number, and that's how the connection starts from there, which means in some way he or she is in some help, needs some help. There is some emergency situation, maybe the car has broken down, and then in that situation you help the person. Or the 7th lord has gone into the 5th house, but the 5th lord has gone into the 3rd house, which means the person travels to your neighborhood to learn some artistic event, to get accustomed to your neighborhood, maybe for some learning event, or even comes to your neighborhood to teach others. She is a teacher, she is somebody who is a guru in some artistic event. So she could be an arts teacher, she or he could be a dance teacher, music teacher, and they come to your neighborhood, to your area to teach, or they come from outside of the city to teach in your city. Now if the 7th lord has gone into the 8th house, then you could meet the person through some event connected to some suddenness, unexpected events, or those areas which is where there is chaos. For example, meeting the person at a government office where there is a lot of chaos, or hospital centers, or at a car park where there is a lot of chaos, or you suddenly bump into the person because the person's car has broken down, or the person needs some help. So in sudden events you meet the person, or at any artistic event, make believe or virtual event. For example, you meet the person at the theater, or maybe while going to see movies, or at some government office where you are involved in some taxation work, or you are involved with the community for some emergency service related work, and she is also there to come to learn or to help or to volunteer. Now if the 7th lord has gone into the 8th house, but the 8th lord has gone into the 11th house, which means you may bump into the person suddenly at some social event which you never knew that the person would attend. The person may not even be known to your extended group or family, but that person may have come through somebody else. So you least expected that person to meet at that event, a social event, but that person somehow landed there because the zodiac wanted to bring you guys together. Now if the 7th lord is in the 8th house, but the 8th lord has gone into the 9th house, which means that you are traveling, and while you are traveling, the person you meet suddenly because of some help the person may need. For example, you're getting onto a train, she needs some help to put her luggage on the shelf maybe, or the overhead bin, or you're traveling and you find somebody whose car has broken down, you stop to help the person and you exchange numbers. Or you meet through an accident, somebody has bumped your car and you are angry and upset and you claim insurance. The person says, okay, no problem, this is my number, and then from there on you meet, and then the story starts from there. 7th lord is in the 8th house, but 8th lord is in the 12th house, which means this is a strong government connection, which means you have met the person suddenly at some government related work, taxation related work, courts related work, insurance related work, paying off your taxes, paying off some fines maybe at some government office where the person is in a loss, is paying off, giving off. or you meet the person at a hospital or at a clinic where you may have also gone for some treatment. The person also may have come for some treatment, or the person is working there. The person may be a nurse there, the person may be a doctor there, the person may be working in the pharmacy there. Somehow that connection may be there. Or you meet the person while your car is broken down or you're on the road. The person may be a law enforcement officer. The person signals you to stop and then gets your details, and from there you become friends, and that story starts from there. Or the 7th Lord is in the 8th house, the 8th Lord is in the 3rd house, which means the person regularly comes to your neighborhood to teach or to learn something or to impart some knowledge or to work in your area, but you never knew the person. The person may be coming to your building, to your premises for many years, you never knew, and suddenly you bump into the person at a teaching event, at some neighborhood community event. Or the 7th Lord is in the 8th house, the 8th house in the 2nd house, which means the person may be connected in some way to your community. Your community has called her over for some community related event, and there lunch or some dinner is being served, and then you bump into her suddenly, where your introduction is not done formally, but because you bump at her maybe at the buffet center or the buffet table, and then you get connected, and the story starts from there. Now if the 7th Lord and the Lagna Lord are placed together in some house, then it means she also or he brings a lot of privilege, lot of respect to you, connected to the house where it is placed. If the 7th Lord and the 2nd Lord are placed together, whichever house they are placed together in, the connection is getting to that house. But there is a strong community connection, there is a strong livelihood connection, there is a strong remuneration getting connected to the person bringing in the remuneration, the good luck to you also. 7th Lord and the 9th Lord placed together, whichever house they may be placed together. So you're traveling, spiritual events, learning, high experiential learning, religious events, getting connected on the long distance travel, educational events, all that are getting connected to how you are coming together, and the circumstances that you are getting connected will be related to where the 7th Lord and the 9th house lords are placed together in. So friends, the circumstances in which you meet the person will be strongly getting connected to your 7th Lord's placement, and that will be validated by the placement in the D9 chart. As I said, the 7th Lord, whichever house it is placed in, whichever sign it is placed in the Lagna chart, it will establish some connection with either that house or that sign or the Lagna Lord or the Lagna sign of your D1 chart when it is placed in your D9 chart. So see those connections, and through those connections validate whether you are absolutely meeting the person in those circumstances or not, or there is some deeper manifestation of how you will end up meeting the person. So friends, understand this placement well, but please know one thing. If you are too much involved and looking only through your horoscope placement, this is how I'm going to meet the person, but somehow you are not able to read that situation well, then what you may do is, even when the person is coming in front of you, but you're going through your astrological placement because I have to meet her at a restaurant, and then the person meets you in some other event or some other place, but you are so engrossed with your mind getting connected to eating place, restaurants, bakeries, you don't see where the person when the person is right in front of you also. So don't be too led by astrological placements. See this as a guide, because there could be more deeper manifestation why the person is meeting in a slightly different circumstances than what your astrological placements are saying. So don't jeopardize your chances. Keep your mind and heart open to both astrological placements as well as sudden events which may bring your future spouse in front of you suddenly when you least expect. So friends, like this video, share this video, and if you're looking for a personal consultation from me, please reach out to me at the link given below. Till some other time with some other video, this is your friend astrologer and guide Irfan signing off. Ciao.